I care for all of you, to nurture you, to provide you what you need, to tell you, don't eat that dirt clod, it's bad. No, when you're a very young child. This is what we do. Throughout my life, I was searching for something I didn't know what it was. I started in martial arts and studied very high-level martial arts, and then I went and studied a Chinese system called Qigong, which is working with energy, and a very high level of that, and became very adept at it. And yet, every time I asked people, why do you practice? Why do you practice? Nobody could give me an answer. The only answers I would get would be something that sounded like a Miss Universe answer, contestant for the betterment of all good and whatever. And the thing was that they knew that I knew that that was a baloney answer. But I didn't know. I didn't know why do I practice? One day I finally went to a lecture by this Master Shen Yang. And it was very interesting. I think I'll tell you the story. It's still worthwhile. It was at UCLA in a very large auditorium, very steeped up like that auditorium, completely filled with people. And my wife and I had arrived very late. We only found out about an hour and a half, and we were 6 miles away from where we needed to go. So when we went in there was no seats at all, except for 2 seats in front of me. And so they were directly right in front of me. It would have been like right here at the rise. And I looked at her, and she looked at me and went, why not? And we went all the way to the front and sat in seats. And I sat there just with my eyes closed and was just listening to what he said, and everything that came out of his mouth was this incredible pearl of wisdom, but yet it wasn't in fancy language that you'll hear me talk. It was simple. And yet it was so rich. And I kept going, yes. Everything that he said rang so true to me, as if I had come home. And I realized what it was. It was wisdom. Very, very unadulterated, unconditional wisdom. It wasn't tied to anything except for the heart. When I finished, I opened my eyes and he was looking directly at me. I had a seat right there. And he just nodded and smiled at me. And then I got up and we went out, because essentially the front of that area was crushed with people that wanted to get close to me. So that was my contact with him, was just looking at him after he finished talking. I opened my eyes. And it's a very strange story, because earlier that day he arrived in Los Angeles and he said to somebody, I'm looking for this Western attorney. Go out and find him. And they went, that's impossible. How am I going to do that? It was a Chinese lady, the leader of the group in LA. She said, I don't know any Americans, much less know American attorneys. And he said, you will find them. So she had gone the next night to see this Qigong master about giving the treatment to Master Shen Yang. And she said to him, I'm looking for a Western attorney. Do you know anybody? He says, yes, one's going to be arriving in 10 minutes. And as I was driving in, I was saying to my wife, this is the last class I'm going to take here. This type of a system doesn't interest me. I'm going to follow and this lady pops up and says, I represent Master. And I said, yes, and she goes, yes, you know him, yes, I was at his lecture. And she goes, most unusual. And so I already decided I'm going to follow him. So it's like she didn't even have to ask me anything. And I said, yes, I will follow him. And she was so confused. And then she went back to tell the master Shamir that she had found me. He said, oh, I found him. And you know, he was at your lecture last night. She didn't tell him where I was sitting. I didn't tell her where I was sitting. But he said, yes, I know. His practice is very good. Very unusual ways to come across, but it's from the heart. When we practice this way, it is wisdom to seek wisdom. And when we seek wisdom, only good can come from that. So I was fortunate to run into him. And then now here I am. It's a very strange road of going through different things and then to come and to share this wisdom. I tell people I only have 1 year, and that's to share. If I can help people even the slightest amount, that's something. If I can touch one heart and all of you, it's worth it to come here. It is just the way it is. I have a special affinity with the Unitarian Universal Churches. This is where in my hometown in Riverside, I taught. They were the ones that opened their door to me and let me borrow their space to present Chan Buddhism. And as a result, it gave me a place to kind of cut my teeth in terms of how to present the Dharma and to how to reach people. I never forget my connections and the welcoming that I received from the Universal Unitarian Church. It is something that is dear to my heart. And your purpose and your liturgy, your songs, they're so beautiful. They are not separate from my practice. Not at all. Matter of fact, it might have been, I've been approached by Unitarian back, but I might have been a Unitarian preacher. Because this too brings to me. I'm not here to tell you how great Chan Buddhism is. I'm here to tell you how great the heart is. And if that doesn't ring with you, then you're probably not a Unitarian. I'm so thankful for Reverend Shannon, who allowed me to come and talk to you. And this kind of a crossroads that we find ourselves at this morning. Because it's a wonderful crossroads. It's a wonderful place where we remove ideas or misconceptions and we join, as you do in your song, with the heart and unify with that. It is this that in Chan Buddhism, from the very early days, was the key principle, the key evolution in Buddhism that was there. Initially, I'm kind of giving you a continuum, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of Chan Buddhism. Because I think it's helpful for you to understand how I get it. And in the Buddha lived 2,500 years ago. This Buddha is what you would call an appearance body. It's not really the Buddha. It is just the heart and the appearance and manifestation that appears in this world to guide sentient beings such as yourself. If you're thinking you're a sentient being, so you're included. If you're not thinking, then you're a But something that's very interesting that I found out one day, I was at a very big conference in Taiwan at Dharma Drum, the main center, and there were several thousand people in attendance. All so much that this giant hall that was there was filled, and there were people standing outside to listen. And they had the Dharma heirs lined up in the front, and they were talking to people, and they were telling people, people, say something about yourself, And so there's a whole line of people, and I'm there listening to the people, and I'm going, I was going to say that. I was going to say that. What am I going to say? I have to say something, but everybody's already said all those things. But my mind is completely, I thought to be able to say something that has some importance, something bad. And so, and I'm thinking like this, and all of a sudden I hear a tap on my shoulder and a microphone. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not ready yet. But now it's my turn to speak. All of the monastics were there, the abbot president of the group, all of the people that are there, and they're all looking, all right, what are you going to say? I'm not going to give the Miss Universe, an introduction, or am I going to say something? Something very strange happened in that moment. As I was looking at everyone, I saw that everybody was a Buddha. And I was speaking to Buddhists. Every single person there was a Buddha. And I was marveled at it. I just kept looking at it. As I'm looking at you now and seeing you as a Buddha. And I had to share that. And I'm starting to say this without even thinking what the impact is of what I was saying. That I saw everyone there as a Buddha. This is what you call the divine. This is what I saw in that moment. And that's about my song. And that's human heart. It is this that we share with each other. The Buddha was talking to a disciple by the name of Subhuti. And he said to Subhuti, and that's what Buddha called him. So he said to Subhuti, suppose if the Ganges River, and probably none of you have seen the Ganges River, it's a big river. And he said, suppose all the grains of sand in the Ganges River were Ganges rivers. And all the grains of sand of all those Ganges rivers were treasure chests that we give to the poor. Would the merit of that be great? And Subhuti said, of course, this would be incredibly great. In Buddhism, we posit incalculable, inconceivable numbers for a reason, to let go of our idea of this world. And then the Buddha said, not as valuable as reciting 4 lines of the sutra to someone. When I first read the Diamond Sutra, something very interesting happened. I was still at that point just a practitioner in Qigong, and my Qigong master saw that I had some potential or talent, so he instructed them to give me a book to read. And they go, what book? Just any Buddhist book. They give me the Sutra. And when I opened it up to read it, immediately when I opened the book up to read it, I felt like I was being lifted. Not like I was floating, but I had the sensation of being very light. And when I closed the book up, I would feel like I would settle back down again. So I thought, this is an interesting book. And I read it. It's interesting. I have no idea what it means. It was like a Rubik's Cube. I had to just keep working it and working it and working it. And then it slowly reveals as well. In the closing verses of the sutra, it says, all that you should think of this fleeting world is a dewdrop on the leaf, a morning star, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a bubble in a stream, a dewdrop, a phantasm, a dream. It's very poetic, but it's very profound. We see this world to be real through the eyes of our ego. But in the divine, I will use your language, in the divine, the ego is an illusion, a construct. This body is an illusion. This world is a dream. We don't understand that. But the divine has never been born, never been created. This is where you find your faith. This is where we understand how to practice. When we practice without the self, it changes things. A few days ago, I went back and revisited John Lennon's Imagine, the lyrics to it. It is not perfect, but it's pretty close to what you have to practice. Imagine no heaven, no hell, no religion, just the divine. In the divine, can you cause harm to someone else? Can you take something from somebody else? Can you call them a name? In mind, it is the mirror of the mind looking at the mirror of the mind. The mind is here. What you're listening to or listening with is the mind, is the divine. Because of causes and conditions and then just situations that come up in our life, we lose it. And then we begin to identify with that photo that's on our driver's license. Here, when you practice and you sing, you merge with the divine. That's why it feels so good. When I walked into this place, I was so loved. The energy here is so incredible. It's not pressing. You have a great leader here. A great purpose to gather together. I don't take you away from your beliefs. I want to amplify the best of your beliefs. This is charm. We don't cross the path. It is something that, if something that I say to you is worthwhile, then that's good, that you can use. And in charm, what's very worthwhile, right out of the box, is to understand what suffering is. I don't think anybody here, if I ask you, who here has not suffered? I don't think I'd ever see a hand raised, right? That pure person would have been a supreme spirit or a liar. Everyone suffered. More importantly, we cause suffering to others because we don't understand. There's very complex sutras in the Buddhist canon. We have thousands of scriptures, not an 800-page book, thousands of scriptures and thousands of treatises. But one thing that's a bit disconcerting when you want to study Chan Buddhism is that the more that you read, the further away you get from the end of finishing all the sutras. You cannot do that even in one lifetime. The treasure is so vast. But in some of the sutras, on one page, can be found the truth. We don't read to be a scholar. We read to provide examples to others of what they need in that moment. There is a sutra, very interesting sutra, called the Vimalakirti Sutra. It's about a layperson. Now, most sutras are the Buddha talking to his disciples and the disciples' interaction with him and the expounding of the Buddha Dharma, the teachings. This one's different. This is Vimalakirti. And Vimalakirti is a layperson, not a monastic. And in this one, he presents the Dharma and corrects the disciples of the Buddha. And it gives us this hope that it's not just Reverend Anne that has it, or I have it. It is this sharing of this and getting it right and getting it clear. And when we do this in the right way, it pays off. The suffering that you have is taken away, and the suffering that you create, even more importantly, is lessened. Again, that goes right back to the shame and repentance, because we are awakened. Awakened. It is not so much that in Buddhism that we seek enlightenment. What we seek is to awaken from the dream. We are caught in this dream. We don't understand that. And all the things that are set into motion in this dream are a product of what we put into it. Who else causes the pollution? Who else causes war? Who else causes charity, giving and favors? Just us. We have to see that as it is. This is the reality of this world. In this human realm, it's a very special realm because you have the ability in this realm to pick or choose to wake up or not. When you wake up, what you awaken to is intrinsically inside of you, your own nature, your intrinsic nature. I would call it Buddha nature, you would call it the divine. And you're awakened to that. Sometimes they talk about the illumination or enlightenment. The illumination is constantly staying in the state of grace and light. And I'm converting Buddha Dharma to words that you can relate to, but it's still the same. It's this light. What is this light? Moment to moment to moment. You are aware of what you're thinking, what your body is doing, and what you're saying. You're clear about it. You know in this very moment, in this divine moment, staying in the divine, staying awake. You can do that because your mind is the Buddha mind. Even though this world is a dream, it's a dream that's being manufactured by the Buddha mind. So why not create a better dream? Why not serve other Buddhas that are suffering, that are ignorant? In the Queen Kamala Devi's Lion Core Sutra, there shows that there's one major defilement in the mind. And this defilement is ignorance. We have to see that. Even in the Bible, it's very interesting that Jesus Christ was saying to God, forgive them because they know not what they do. And they're killing wisdom. And this deep-seated ignorance is the ego. The idea that you have a separate personality, ego, or life, or being that is separate from everyone else. To accept the divine, you accept each and every one of you with all your defects and problems. Even the politicians. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, that's tough. But in any case, everyone you accept. You live in the state of grace for others, for their benefit. Because you have awakened. And in this awakening, why wouldn't you try to help others? I once was doing a lecture at the Ohio State University, and this one poet, she was saying, I hear you're saying that everything's a dream. So then what? What does it matter? What does it matter if none of this is real? So I said, you live on campus? She goes, yes. I said, and you have a roommate? She said, yes. And suppose you came back from this lecture and your roommate was asleep, and you could obviously see that she was in the throes of a terrible dream, thrashing around, moaning. What would you do? And she said, I would wake her up. Well, and I said, why? Why would you wake her up? You yourself said it was just a dream. So why would it matter? Why would it matter to wake her up in a dream? And in this way, what we do is what we see is that it is just as with we're in the dream, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the shape of the dream because the mind creates it. And if everything was perfect, you would not have to pay homage to the divine. But the divine is for you to remember that you're practitioners. A believer is not somebody that just has faith, but they demonstrate their faith. In Buddhism, you may think I'm giving a lecture. I'm just simply demonstrating in this moment and how you demonstrate it in your lives. We have the idea of uplifting humanity and creating a pure land on earth. We can do that. We can do that. We create a place for proper practice, for the proper idea of how to live. And we demonstrate to others. And what we do is we demonstrate how it works. That's what's important. Is that we begin to understand that how this world can be. We use our heart to do that. And you here, you're the start, you're the seeds. In Buddhism, the highest practice is not to escape from this place. If you awaken, you might say, wow, I'm out of here. I'm out of the suffering. And so you leave. You're out of the dream and into the divine. But what if those other people that are still in the bad dream thrashing around? Wouldn't you wake them as well? This is the entire purpose of what we practice for. This is the reason that we join in song and faith so that we serve others, not just ourselves and not just to polish ourselves, but to help others, to awaken them, to bring them to a deeper understanding, to remove the suffering. This is what's called compassion. There are two types of compassion. The first type of compassion is a worldly compassion. This is one that you exhibit to your parents, to your children, to the people around you, to some of your neighbors. Some people in your place of work. But it's conditional compassion. It is a compassion that is limited to the idea of who you want to help. But in the divine, there is no discrimination, no differentiation, no picking and choosing to help. Everyone is equal. You each in your heart have the divine. Even though to some of you, the divine is covered up. You can't see it, but it's there. So you have to utilize compassion to help everyone, to set into mind that which helps people. In our practice, we understand that everything is created by the mind. That's why this is a dream. But this is a dream that is in the divine. It is not that the divine is a supreme being. It is not what we call monistic, but one supreme being or God. It is what runs through each and every one of you. That's why it's created by the mind, all of us. We have a saying in Buddhism that the Buddhas use the vexations and the short points of sentient beings such as yourself to practice. It's not easy to understand this, but when we say that you examine your failings, your shortcomings, your vexations, discriminations, that's a practice. You're examining them and then setting on the course, choosing not to succumb to those vexations. This is the demonstration of your practice. As I see it and feel it from that group, it's the same. You begin the self-introspection to see these things and then recognize that these short ones, these things that are there, are not your true nature. Your true nature is pure, divine. And you resonate with it. When you resonate with it, you want to share it. Your group is very unique in this world. Very, very unique. Because it sets aside the idea of what we conceive of a established religion and goes directly to the source. And it practices directly from the source. And it's not something that you do to please a divine entity. It's something that you do because it needs to be done, and the ignorance is removed from your heart. So you want to share it and help. This is natural because that's the purity of the heart. When we don't have this kind of purity in the heart, we cause suffering. And when you have it, people want to be around you, they want to get close to you because they feel it. They feel comfortable. And they don't feel threatened. But if you're constantly in a state of impatience or anger, then what? What do you protect? None of you are like that, right? So I want to talk to you to people that know that. Okay. But you always have to see what you're doing. You always have to see, is what I am doing wholesome? We don't measure wholesomeness or morality from some conservative viewpoint. For instance, running around putting fig leaves on statues. We measure it from the heart. Does it help advance people, or does it obstruct them? Does it cause negative influences? When we practice in that way, we're not truly practicing the divine. But as you practice, as I see it, there's not one of you that can't be consistent with the divine, because it's your true nature. You as individuals, sometimes you may be frightened when I say there's no self. It's very interesting because the Buddha didn't say there's no self. So let me ease your fears. That you're not gonna, if you keep listening to me, you're gonna disappear. Your vexations. The Buddha did not say no self. The Buddha said not self. There's a big difference between that, because that means that it is not yourself that is your true nature. The self will arise naturally because that's the way it is. And you cling to it because it's part of your dream. When you don't cling to that, then the dream just naturally is self-purified. You see things in the right way. You are capable of acting in this way. I've opened this up for some questions. Is it finished? Okay. I went over time. I'm sorry. No questions. You can ask me the questions when I get off of this. So thank you for listening. This is something that I know is a little bit different approach, but I hope you'll open your hearts to see that it's not very far from what you come to work every Sunday.